The moment was passing. This hour would soon be gone. I would lose the chance to say what must be said, what should have been said when he was warm and above the earth so many years ago.
Fast asleep.
Welcome to Fast Asleep with Gina Marie. It's so nice to have you here with us, and it's an all-new episode, and I'm Gina. You know, in a heavily saturated market, you have managed to find your way to our little mom-and-pop shop, and that shop is stuffed with hundreds of classic short stories, tenderly read just for you. Yep, I lured poor engineer Bob into this shop years ago, and now he can't resist a good classic story. You better be careful, or it'll be the same for you. Now, today's author graces fast asleep with many of his stories, and you can scroll back for our bio info on him, but today, I wanted to specifically talk about how this episode's story from Ray Bradbury affected columnist Sue Granquist, who wrote the longest-running column in the history. That word, by the way, was history of Blackgate. That's a fantasy magazine, if you didn't already know, that features short fiction and reviews. We planned a few weeks ago to share this article with you in this episode, but here's the surprising information. We just learned today that Ms. Granquist unexpectedly died a few days ago. Well, of course, we send our deepest condolences to her family and to her co-workers. And now more than ever, we want to feature her beautiful thoughts on Ray Bradbury and this particular story. For her column entitled Goth Chick News, in December of 2022, she wrote about today's story, which first appeared in Woman's Day magazine in 1973. Her exposure to it came after her grandfather had died, leaving her father deep in grief. Reading the story eased some of his grief. Years later, her father too passed, crushing Sue. She was an admitted daddy's girl. The story brought healing to Sue as well, and she made a point of reading it every Christmas. She writes this, quote, "It is a story of the loss we all feel at some point in our lives, and about how the magic of one night each year makes it possible to undo some of the sadness." Unquote. Well, I, like Sue, have very strong feelings about Ray Bradbury. He has penned so many varied, award-winning works. But listeners, this story truly surpasses them all. If you have a parent, if you are a parent, you'll know. Published in 1973, and to honor the memory of Sue Granquist, tuck in, everybody, for Ray Bradbury's The Wish. A whisper of snow touched the cold window. The vast house creaked in a wind from nowhere. "What?" I said. I didn't say anything. Charlie Simons, behind me at the fireplace, shook popcorn quietly in a vast metal sieve. Not a word. Damn it, Charlie, I heard you. Stunned, I watched the snow fall on far streets and empty fields. It was a proper night for ghosts of whiteness to visit windows and wander off. You're imagining things, said Charlie. Am I? I thought. Does the weather have voices? Is there a language of night and time and snow? What goes on between that dark out there and my soul in here? For there, in the shadows, a whole civilization of doves seemed to be landing unseen, without benefit of moon or lamp. And was it the snow, softly whispering out there? Or was it the past, accumulations of old time and need, despairs mounding themselves to panics, and finding at last tongue? God, Charles, just now I could have sworn I heard you say what? You said, make a wish. I did. His laughter behind me did not make me turn. I kept on watching the snow fall, and I told him what I must tell. You said, it's a special, fine, strange night, so make the finest, dearest, strangest wish ever in your life, deep from your heart. It will be yours. That's what I heard you say. No. I saw his image in the glass shake its head. But, Tom, you stood there hypnotized by the snowfall for half an hour. The fire on the hearth talked. Wishes don't come true, Tom. But, and here he stopped and added with some surprise, by God, you did hear something, didn't you? Well, here, drink. The popcorn was done popping. He poured wine, which I did not touch. The snow was falling steadily along the dark window in pale breaths. Why? I asked. Why would this wish jump into my head? If you didn't say it, what did? What indeed, I thought. What's out there? And who are we? Two riders, late, alone. My friend, invited for the night. Two old companions, used to much talk and gossip about ghosts, who've tried their hands at all the usual psychic stuffs, Ouija boards, tarot cards, telepathies, the junk of amiable friendships over years, but always full of taunts and jokes and idle fooleries. But this, out there, tonight, I thought, ends the jokes, erases smiles. The snow. Look, it's burying our laughter. Why? Said Charlie at my elbow, drinking wine, gazing at the red, green, blue Yule tree lights, and now at the back of my neck. Why a wish on a night like this? Well, it is the night before Christmas, right? 5 minutes from now, Christ is born. Christ and the winter solstice, all in 1 week. This week, this night, proves that Earth won't die all the winter has touched bottom and now starts upward toward the light. Now that's special. That's incredible. Yes, I murmured, and thought of the old days when cavemen died in their hearts when autumn came and the sun went away. And the ape men cried until the world shifted in its white sleep and the sun rose earlier one fine morning, and the universe was saved once more for a little while. Yes. So, Charlie read my thoughts and sipped his wine. Christ always was the promise of spring, wasn't he? In the midst of the longest night of the year, time shook, earth shuddered, and calved a myth. And what did the myth yell? Happy New Year! God, yes. January 1st isn't New Year's Day. Christ's birthday is. His breath, sweet as clover, touches our nostrils, promises spring. This very moment before midnight. Take a breath, Thomas. Shut up. Why? You hear voices again? Yes. I turned to the window. In 60 seconds, it would be the morn of his birth. What purer, rarer hour was there, I thought, wildly, for wishes. Tom, Charlie seized my elbow, but I was gone, deep and very wild indeed. Is this a special time? I thought. Do holy ghosts wander on nights of falling snow to do us favors in this strange held hour? If I make a wish in secret, will that perambulating night, strange sleeps, old blizzards, give back my wish tenfold? I shut my eyes. My throat convulsed. Don't, said Charlie. But it trembled on my lips. I could not wait. Now, I thought, a strange star burns at Bethlehem. Tom, gasped Charlie. Oh, for Christ's sake. Christ, yes, I thought, and said, my wish is for 1 hour tonight. No! Charlie struck me once to shut my mouth. Please. Make my father alive again. The mantel clock struck 12 times to midnight. Oh, Thomas. Charlie grieved. His hand fell away from my arm. Oh, Tom. A gust of snow rattled the window, clung like a shroud, unraveled away. The front door exploded wide. Snow sprang over us in a shower. Oh, what a sad wish. And it has just come true. True? I whirled to stare at that open door, which beckoned like a tomb. Don't go, Tom, said Charlie. The door slammed. Outside, I ran. Oh, God, how I ran. Tom, come back. The voice faded far behind me in the whirling fall of white. Oh, God, don't. But in this minute, after midnight, I ran and ran, mindless, gibbering, yelling my heart on to beat, blood to move, legs to run and keep running. And I thought, him. I know where he is. If the gift is mine, if the wish comes true, I know his place. And all about, in the night-snowing town, the bells of Christmas began to clang and chant and clamor. They circled and paced and drew me on as I shouted and mouthed snow and knew maniac desire. Oh, fool, I thought. He's dead. Go back. But what if he is alive 1 hour tonight and I didn't go to find him? I was outside town with no hat or coat, but so warm from running. A salty mask froze my face and flaked away with the jolt of each stride down the middle of an empty road, with the sound of joyous bells blown away and gone. A wind took me around a final corner of wilderness where a dark wall waited for me. The cemetery. Stay with me. I'll be right back. A wind took me around a final corner of wilderness where a dark wall waited for me. The cemetery. I stood by the heavy iron gates, looking numbly in. The graveyard resembled the scattered ruins of an ancient fort, blown up lifetimes ago, its monuments buried deep in some new ice age. Suddenly, miracles were not possible. Suddenly the night was just so much wine and talk and dumb enchantments, and I running for no reason, save I believed. I truly believed I had felt something happen out here in this snow-dead world. Now, I was so burdened at the blind sight of those untouched graves and printless snow. I would gladly have sunk and died there myself. I could not go back to town to face Charlie. I began to think this was all some brutal humor and awful trick of his insane ability to guess someone's terrible need and toy with it. Had he whispered behind my back, made promises, nudged me toward this wish? Christ. I touched the padlocked gate. What was here? Only a flat stone with a name and born 1888. Died 1957. An inscription that even on summer days was hard to find, for the grass grew thick and the leaves gathered in mounds. I let go of the iron gate and turned. Then, in an instant, I gasped. An unbelieving shout tore from my throat. For I had sensed something beyond the wall, near the small boarded-up gatekeeper's lodge. Was there some faint breathing there? A muted cry? Or just a hint of warmth on the wind? I clenched the iron gate and stared beyond. Yes, there! The faintest track, as if a bird had landed to run along between the buried stones. Another moment, and I would have missed it forever. I yelled. I ran. I leaped. I have never, oh God, in all my life leaped so high. I cleared the wall and fell down on the other side, a last shout bloodying my mouth. I scrambled around to the far side of the gatehouse, and there, in shadows, hidden away from the wind, leaning against a wall, was a man, eyes shut, his hands crossed over his chest. I stared at him wildly. I leaned insanely close to peer, to find. I did not know this man. He was old, very old. I must have groaned with fresh despair, for now the old man opened his trembling eyes. It was his eyes looking at me that made me shout, "Dad!" I lurched to seize him into dim lamplight and the falling snows of after midnight. Charlie's voice, a long way off in the snowy town, echoed and pleaded, "No, don't go, just run. Nightmare, stop." The man who stood before me did not know me. Like a scarecrow held up against the wind, this strange but familiar shape tried to make me out with his white blind and cobwebbed eyes. Who? He seemed to be thinking. Then an answering cry burst from his mouth. Om! He could not pronounce the T, but it was my name. Like a man on a cliff edge, terrified that the earth might fall and drop him back to night and soil, he shuddered, grappled me. I held him tight. He could not fall. Riveted in a fierce embrace, not able to let go, we stood and rocked gently, strangely. Two men made one in a wilderness of shredding snow. Tom, oh, Tom, he grieved brokenly over and over. Father, oh, dear Pa, Dad, I thought. I said. The old man stiffened, for over my shoulder he must have truly seen for the first time the stones, the empty fields of death. He gasped, as if to cry, "What is this place?" Old as his face was, in the instant of recognition and remembrance, his eyes, his cheeks, his mouth withered and grew yet older, saying, "No." He turned to me, as if seeking answers, some guardian of his rights, some protector who might say no with him. But the cold truth was in my eyes. We were both staring now at the dim path his feet had made, blundering across the land from the place where he had been buried for many years. No, 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 no. The words fired from his mouth, but he could not pronounce the N, so it was a wild explosion of oh, 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 oh. A forlorn, dismayed, child whistling cry. Then another question shadowed his face. I know this place, but why am I here? He clawed his arms. He stared down at his withered chest. God gives us dreadful gifts. The most dreadful of all is memory. He remembered. And he began to melt away. He recalled his body shriveling, his dim heart gone to stillness, the slam of some eternal door of night. He stood very still in my arms, his eyelids flickering over the stuffs that shifted grotesque furnitures within his head. He must have asked himself the most terrible question of all. Who has done this thing to me? He opened his eyes. His gaze beat at me. You, it said. Yes, I thought. I wished you alive this night. You, his face and body cried. And then, half aloud, the final inquisition. Why? Now it was my turn to be blasted and riven. Why, indeed, had I done this to him? How had I dared to wish for this awful, this harrowing confrontation? Oh, what was I to do now with this man, this stranger, this old, bewildered and frightened child? Why had I summoned him just to send him back to soils and graves and dreadful sleeps? Had I even bothered to think of the consequences? No. Raw impulse had shot me from home to this burial field like a mindless stone to a mindless goal. Why? Why? My father, this old man, stood in the snow now, trembling, waiting for my pitiful answer. A child again. I could not speak. Some part of me knew a truth I could not say. Inarticulate with him in life, I found myself yet more mute in his waking death. The truth raved inside my head, cried along the fibers of my spirit and being, but could not break forth from my tongue. I felt my own shouts locked inside. The moment was passing. This hour would soon be gone. I would lose the chance to say what must be said, what should have been said when he was warm and above the earth so many years ago. Somewhere, far off across the country, the bells sounded 12:30 on this Christmas morn. Christ ticked in the wind. Snow flaked away at my face with time and cold, cold and time. Why? My father's eyes asked me. Why have you brought me here? And then I stopped, for his hand had tightened on my arm. His face had found its own reason. This was his chance too, his final hour to say what he should have said when I was 12 or 14 or 26. No matter if I stood mute, here, in the falling snow, he could make his peace and go his way. His mouth opened. It was hard, so dreadfully hard for him to force the old words out. Only the ghost within the withered shell could dare to agonize and gasp. He whispered 3 words, lost in the wind. Yes, I urged. He held me tight and tried to keep his eyes open in the blizzard night. Oh, he wanted to sleep, but first his mouth gaped and whistled again and again. I of you. He stopped, trembled, racked his body, and tried to shout it again, failing. I love you. Oh, Dad, I cried. Let me say it for you. He stood very still and waited. Were you trying to say, I love you? Yes, he cried, and burst out very clearly at long last. Oh, yes. Oh, Dad, I said, wild with miserable happiness, all gain and loss. Oh, and Pa, dear Pa, I love you. We fell together. We held. I wept. And from some strange dry well within his terrible flesh, I saw my father squeeze forth tears which trembled and flashed on his eyelids. And the final question was thus asked and answered. Why have you brought me here? Why the wish, why the gifts, and why this snowing night? Because we had to say, before the doors were shut and sealed forever, what we never had said in life. And now Now it had been said, and we stood holding each other in the wilderness, father and son, son and father, the parts of the whole, suddenly interchangeable with joy. The tears turned to ice upon my cheeks. We stood in the cold wind and falling snow for a long while, until we heard the sound of the bells at 12:45, and still we stood in the snow, saying no more. No more ever need be said, until at last our hour was done. All over the white world, the clocks of 1 a.m. on Christmas morn, with Christ new in the fresh straw, sounded the end of that gift which had passed so briefly into and now out of our numb hands. My Father held me in his arms. The last sound of the 1 o'clock bells faded. I felt my father step back, at ease now. His fingers touched my cheeks. I heard him walking in the snow. The sound of his walking faded, even as the last of the crying faded within myself. I opened my eyes only in time to see him 100 yards off, walking. He turned and waved once at me. The snow came down in a curtain. How brave, I thought, to go where you go now, old man, and no complaint. I walked back into town. I had a drink with Charles by the fire. He looked in my face and drank a silent toast to what he saw there. Upstairs, my bed waited for me like a great fold of white snow. The snow was falling beyond my window for 1,000 miles to the north, 500 miles to the east, 200 miles west, 100 miles to the south. The snow fell on everything, everywhere. It fell on 2 sets of footprints beyond the town, one set coming out, and the other going back to be lost among the graves. I lay on my bed of snow. I remembered my father's face as he waved and turned and went away. It was the face of the youngest, happiest man I had ever seen. With that, I slept and gave up weeping. Introduction information for this episode is from Sue Granquist and her wonderful article entitled Ray Bradbury's The Wish has a new meaning this year for Blackgate Magazine. Music for this episode is Melancholia from Francesco de Andrea. What Tears Are Shed from Schatzlin. Scorched Earth from Maya Bel-Sitzman. Hallow from Stephen Keach. And Starry Night from 8 Opus. What has helped get you through a loss? Let us know if you want to, right here in comments, or email us at fastasleepwithginamarie44@gmail.com. You'll find us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Thank you for your reviews, your comments, your likes, and your subscriptions. And most of all, just thanks for listening. Keyword: peace. And next week, it's a listener favorite. It's the inspiration for It's a Wonderful Life. It's the greatest gift. Enjoy your holidays with your family and friends. Good night.